Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. All right, inflation popped up to nearly 8% for the 12 months ending in February. Joe Biden has said it's all Vladimir Putin's fault, and there's nothing he, Biden, can do about it. Wrong and wrong. Inflation and energy prices actually have been rising for more than a year. In fact, the last monthly price report in December 2020 was 2%, hitting the Fed's target during the Trump administration. Now, at this point, I'm not sure we'll see 2% inflation again in my lifetime. As far as blaming Putin, I'm more than happy to blame the Russian dictator for as many things as possible, but I can't blame him for massive federal deficit spending and Federal Reserve money creation. Those two factors, along with Biden's regulatory octopus that is strangling the oil and gas industry, are responsible for the 4-decade-high inflation rate we are now experiencing. As far as blaming the Ukraine war and the related economic sanctions, well, that's going to be the March CPI story. It had virtually no effect in February. Meanwhile, if you took all energy out of the CPI, the remaining items would still have been up 6.6%. Or if you just excluded gasoline, the index would still be up 6.4% over the past year. In other words, the increase in prices is widespread. It covers virtually all aspects of American life. And now people are really being hurt, not only from gasoline at the pump and groceries when they're on the shelves, but pretty much everywhere: housing, rent, apparel, cars, recreation, commodities, services, you name the item, and I'll tell you, its price is rising big time. That can only happen from fundamentally flawed government policies. And yes, we last saw this in the stagflationary 1970s. That was a dark hole I'm afraid we're falling into again. Curing this problem, by the way, is not going to be easy. Now, one step toward a cure would be a president and administration that owns its policy failures. But they're in denial. That does not seem likely. Another step in the cure would be to stop federal spending. Just pause it. Stop building new debt and stop the Federal Reserve from pumping in new cash into the economy in order to finance all these deficits. We did save America, and we did kill the bill, but the Congress is back. With overwhelming support in the House last night, the omnibus discretionary spending bill of $1.5 trillion, roughly 7% above the 2021 level, well, it passed overwhelmingly. Defense and non-defense. None of it financed, and plenty of earmarks, which have been banned for many years. They are now back with a vengeance. Earmarks. So much for a federal spending pause. Now, the third step would be to stop the Fed's rapid money creation, which is still running in double digits. This has not happened yet. Instead of being bold, it looks like they're going to be wusses. Raising the target by 1/4 point with an 8% inflation rate provides no restraint whatsoever. And it may be that Pat Toomey will carry the day and stop the confirmation of the left-wing climate radical, Sarah Bloom Raskin. He may even be forcing the White House to pull the nomination. That's good. But the prevailing view at the central bank will still be backbone-free. By the way, they are liable to repeat a big mistake from the 1970s. When oil prices shot up then, the Fed accommodated those price hikes with easy money and thereby turning an individual price increase into a generalized economy-wide inflation. In other words, monetizing the commodity price shock. Very bad idea. Finally, the administration must deal with the supply side of the economy by rolling back the roughly $200 billion plus regulatory assault on business and the economy, especially the regulatory octopus that is strangling the oil and gas industry. This is a woke green octopus, just like the one on the screen, take a look, whose stretched out tentacles extend to the Interior Department, the Energy Department, the EPA, FERC, Treasury, the Fed, and the SEC. Oh, and I almost forgot the Electric Car Transportation Department. And then suffocates the supply of oil, natural gas, coal, LNG, and pipelines. That's what it's doing. Here, the issue is how the Bidens have stopped exploration and drilling in the private sector on private lands. They've done this by using crazy metrics like this social cost of carbon and invoking regulatory rules for endangered species, clean water, NEPA permitting, and others. In fact, the Biden FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, aims to prevent any new pipelines. And here's something Madam Psaki does not understand when she said, I don't know, yesterday, it's just a delivery mechanism, talking about pipelines. It's just a delivery mechanism. It's not an oil field. So it doesn't provide more supply into the system. Really. It's kind of like milking a cow and then leaving it on the barn floor, meaning no disrespect to Madam Psaki. The trouble is the frackers won't frack if the pipeliners are prevented from pipelining. Distribution is very important. Mr. Biden should take Rick Perry's suggestion from last night and send a special envoy to Midland, Texas for a peace treaty with the oil and gas industry, instead of sending his diplomats to Iran and Venezuela. Or, by the way, he could send another envoy to Alberta, Canada, which is a friendly country to us, and they would love to pipeline 800,000 barrels per day worth through Nebraska and into the Gulf. That project, by the way, even today, could be completed by the first quarter of 2023. In other words, a year from now. Of course, unfortunately, none of this is going to happen. A Reagan-Volcker solution to strengthen the dollar and deregulate the economy and cut taxes is not on the horizon in Joe Biden's woke Washington. And that's too bad, because what's likely to happen is this story will end badly. It'll end in another rough, tough recession, which once again will fall most heavily on the shoulders of the great American working folks. One last ray of hope, I will say. The cavalry is coming.